Good evening, everyone. I must say
Mm.
I'm very happy that our panel has started on time. Just had to allow some more people to enter the room. So let's get started. Fun time is now. So I'm the founder of Jamaican Care Packages, and I want to thank you guys for coming to our Selling Jamaican Things online panel, where we're going to talk about some lessons, mistakes, and more from some other young online business owners in Jamaica. I want to say that I'm very humbled by how many persons whom have registered. I wasn't expecting so many people to register, but I'm sure that you're going to get a lot of value, and I really hope that you get a lot of value from tonight. Because I have been to other panels like this, and I feel like I don't really get what I want from it. I don't get that practical advice from business owners who are actively doing it, and that's what I wanted. And that's what I wanted for us tonight. And I think we have the right panel with the right people to accomplish that. So this is a combined effort between Jamaican Care Packages Limited, 3-day startup, and the US Department of State. And with that, let's go. So before we get into the panel and the good stuff, I have to give you guys a little introduction on myself, my company, and some cool things that we have in the works. So at Jamaican Care Packages, we deliver care packages to Jamaicans and Caribbean immigrants abroad who miss the sweet taste of home. So we're talking your bun and your cheese, your tigers, your chippies, pretty much these snacks that Jamaicans abroad love. And it's a bit hard to get. They can easily just come on our website, place your order, and have it delivered right to you. So I'm based in Kingston. I started it part-time with the help of my parents in 2014, doing it nights and weekends while I had a full-time job. Then I went full-time in 2016, and in 2017, we moved into our offices in 2017. I started with just a little PayPal button on my blog, and we have since grown into a fully functional e-commerce website. And we have shipped over 35,000 care packages since inception. So it's a very simple process. You just go to the site, you are able to quickly and easily customize your order based on products on the site, or you can choose from one of our pre-arranged packages. And this is somebody who got their lovely care package and they wanted to share it with the world. As you see here, we have a website, so we accept all major credit and debit cards on the site, and we have a mobile app as well, which also accepts Apple Pay. And just a quick, I had looked at some stats before the panel, and we've actually increased revenue from the app alone has increased over 180% from last year. All right, so just want to tell you guys, one of the cool things that we're working on is something called JCP Connect. So when I started this, at the start, I would be selling the most popular Jamaican foods like the chippies and the bun. But we started to have local vendors would start to approach me and say, hey, Rory, can we put our products on your site? And I was like, okay, all right. So we started to add them one by one. But I mean, after doing it for a little while, I was like, I'm sure we can find a formal and streamlined way to do this. So that's when we created JCP Connect, and it pretty much allows any local vendor to start exporting instantly. And if anyone is sort of interested in being a part of JCP Connect, aka having your products on the website and start exporting instantly, you can sign up on our website. There's a button at the top that says Sell on JCP, or you can follow this link right here, which is jacarepackages.com/pages/JCP Connect. All right. So since we have done all of that housekeeping out of the way, let's get to the fun stuff. And we're actually going to start with a giveaway because I just want to just give back to you guys. I just want to thank you guys for just coming to the panel. And this is also a little incentive to you guys to actually pay attention. So the first giveaway is, what year did Rory/JCP move into their office? So the first person to put the answer in the chat wins this one bag of things tote bag from the one and only TCP Tings, not to be confused with the JCP. All
Exactly.
right,
Yeah.
so let's see who got it right. So let me open the chat. Well, chat ain't opening, hold on. One sec. Chat, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna look, okay, so the correct answer is 2017. I saw a few people put in 2016, but 2016 was the year I went full-time. 2017 is when I we went into our office. So we have our winner, Joe Giano got it right. So Joe, we will be contacting you afterwards, or better yet, you can just contact me. I will take your details and we will get you your free tote bag. All right, so since we have some little fun and excitement, let's get to the reason why we're here, which is the panel. So we have with us today, we have Joni-Dale Morgan from Morgan's Creek, Marc Gayle from TCP Tings, and Patrique Goodall from Likkle. So I'm going to give each panelist around roughly 1 to 2 minutes to give, to start to introduce themselves and their companies to the panel. So Morgan, we'll start with you.
Okay, good night, everyone. You're hearing me, right?
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So my name is Joni-Dale Morgan, owner of Morgan's Creek. We manufacture a wide range of skincare products, from bar soaps, lotions, shower gels, body splashes. Right now we have over 200 different products. So we have products for all skin types, eczema, dry skin, oily skin. And our aim is to have you looking, feeling, smelling amazing in your natural skin. Morgan's Creek was formed because of my own skin issues. I suffer with lupus, and so I had to change my skincare routine. And it was just a new environment for me as well, a therapeutic environment, a more calming environment from where I was before I was previously in the hardware industry. So it's a totally different environment, a more peaceful environment. And that's how Morgan's Creek was created. It started in 2016. And we started full blown with a storefront in the Sovereign Center. And right now you can find us at Fontana's island-wide. And we do have a website, of course, that you can purchase as well. Unlike Rory, we haven't reached the app stage as yet, but 2021, I'm sure we'll get there.
There we go, 2021. All right, thanks so much, Joni-Dale, aka Morgan. Marc, I'll hand over to you.
All right. Firstly, thank you for having me, Rory. So I'm Marc Gayle. I'm CEO of TCP Tings. We make Jamaican greeting cards and gift tags and products. So like the one bag of things tote that Rory gave away, a variety of different totes, jet setter, cloth bag, a whole bunch of different stuff. We sell them in a number of different pharmacies, all the Fontanas, all the Mega Mart pharmacies. Our tote bags are only sold in Fontana Waterloo, Fontana Mobe, and Fontana Mandeville, as well as our website, and Kerry, Manuman Home. But our greeting cards are sold in all the Fontana pharmacies, Discount, Manor Park, Ligonier Lane, York Pharmacy, Supermed, and a bunch of other pharmacies island-wide. We've been around for about 2.5 years, 3 years. We are a DBJ Ignite grantee, so we won a DBJ Ignite grant. Big up Chris, which I know is in the audience from DBJ now. It's been a wild journey. We started off doing retail, but I guess we'll go into all that a little more later. But we started off doing retail, and then we have our website. Like Joni said, we don't have an app. I don't know when that will come. Not necessarily running to that. I'm also a software developer and a finance guy. I'm very opinionated, and I speak a lot, especially on Twitter. I'm big up finance with a JA. So yeah, that's me.
Just before you go, Marc, you could just tell us the year that you had started TCP Tings?
Okay, so TCP Tings was started by my two partners, Jordan Moses and Kia Moses, their brother and sister-in-law. And So they had an ad agency called Those Creative People, right? And what they realized, they actually came to me, I want to say in like 2015, and they came to me like, Marc, I have this great idea to make greeting cards and tote bags. And I literally said to them, you mean physical greeting cards that, on paper? Like, this is 2015. Who the hell buys physical greeting cards now, right? Like everybody buys e-cards. As I told them, don't do that. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And again, I'm a techie and whatever. Anyway, thankfully for me, they didn't listen to me. And then, they went ahead and they designed it. And then they went to Moda, which was, so what it is, they rented a small little table in 2016, I believe it was. And then, over the weekend, that Moda weekend, they sold out 3 times and I had to do 3 more print runs. And one of the things that I don't do is I don't argue with feedback from the market. So that was like the initial phase. And then after that, we spent 2017, 2018, kind of building out the company and so on. So I technically, we didn't really officially register the company until I think 2018, 2019. But, we started operations before, probably, beginning of 2017.
All right, thank you. Over to Patrique.
Good evening, everyone. I am the founder of Likkle, Jamaica's premier, I guess, first local loose leaf tea company. And when I say tea, I don't mean a herbal infusion. I mean the plant tea. A lot of people are surprised to learn that their favorite ginger tea is not a tea. In fact, it's a root. But Likkle offers loose leaf tea and tea-stand blends. I started in 2017. And this for me was therapy. And I did not set out to start a business any at all. I just happened upon this product that I stumbled upon. And then in my search for, I guess, similar offerings locally, I found that there were none. And I decided to give this thing a try. And I'm not homeless yet. So I'm doing something pretty okay. I don't have a physical storefront. I sell primarily online. And I'm in a few stockists in Rainforest Seafoods in Montego Bay, the commissary by Devon House. I am in the Live Store, and I can be found in a couple of cafes across Kingston and Mobay. And as far as France, people buy my tea to serve in their restaurants and cafes, tea rooms. I've done over 50 different unique blends, and I tried to incorporate a Jamaican element in each of my blends, whether it's cacao nibs or the ginger, the turmeric. So that's the story of Likkle.
All right, thank you so much. All right, guys, so we have met our panelists for the evening. So now let's get to why we're here. Let's get to the questions. Let's get to the lessons and the mistakes. Because I want to keep this thing to under hour. So let's go. So the first question is, how did you get started selling online in Jamaica? I will start with Morgan.
Okay, so I mean, when you start a business, especially when I started in 2016, most persons, the first thing they ask is, do you have a website? Do you have a website? Do you have a website? So that was created, but I wasn't selling online. So it wasn't until about 2017 that I actually, and when I had the storefront and more persons started to see the brand, because I started in Christmas time, so a lot of visitors were in Jamaica. So when they went overseas, they were asking, hey, how can we make a purchase? So it was in 2017 that I actually started to sell online from the platform.
So like what platform are we talking, if you could share a little information on that?
Okay, that time I was using WordPress. I was using WordPress and using PayPal as the payment option.
Rory, you're muted.
Can I hear you?
Yeah, man, I'm here. So yeah, okay, we can keep it there. We'll definitely speak about PayPal a lot later. So over to you, Marc.
Yeah, so when we started off, as I said, so we started off, our roots were in like the physical trade show, right? So kind of built on that. So from that first trade show, which is Modal Market, different retailers reached out to my partners, and that's when I joined. I joined literally right after that. Like once they kind of got through the trade show and realized, okay, this is a thing. Then we kind of took it seriously and I came on board and whatever. And in terms of, so for the first probably about year and a half, now I'm a software developer, so this is going to sound very, very contrary to what your perception may be, but I actually was not, I was against going to a website too early. And the reason is that selling e-commerce in Jamaica is a challenge in and of itself. Like, to do it properly, you have to have certain things in place. And, as a young company, I just don't think it's a good first step. So what we did is that I literally used Google Sheets, and we used DMs on IG, and I used email. And we told people, okay, if you want to order something from us, we'll post the stuff on IG. And if you want something, you send it to us. And I would literally like update it in my spreadsheet. And so I would track my inventory on my spreadsheet. And then, I would tell them make a payment via bank transfer, and then they send the payment and they send the picture of the receipt, and then I ship it to them. I send it via bearer or whatever. So that I did that for probably about, I don't know, the first maybe like 8 to 12 months. Like it was painful. Like looking back, I looked back at the spreadsheet the other day, and I got like PTSD because it's just it was traumatic. So by the time like I took it to its natural conclusion where it was painful, where I didn't want to even look at the spreadsheet. I knew that I had to get a website where a lot of these stuff, it was done automatically. So, and that was probably about I want to say 2019, the beginning of 2019 is when we launched the website. So it's been about a year and a half or so. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, I have a few follow-ups for Morgan and Marc, but I'd love to hear from Patrique first.
Marc, trust me, that PTSD. So when I started, I didn't have a website when I started. I actually started my business literally just to test the market. And I started out with 10 boxes I gave to a couple of friends. A couple of them happened to be influencers, thank God. I never had to pay anybody. And the messages started coming in via DM. How can I order? Everything like that. And literally the first order I got, I have a background in advertising and marketing. So literally I sat in my car in the parking lot of RKA building, and I sat and I created a Google Docs because I just said, you know what, let me do this thing right. And it was Google Docs, and then Google Docs, you pay via PayPal and bank transfer. So I didn't really want to do a cash business, but my partner actually has a physical storefront, so people could send in their orders via Google Docs, and then they would pay at pickup or do a bank transfer and then pick up. And right before I did my first farmers market, I think it was Conoco Market, and I was like, literally, I was supposed to drive down at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I got up at 5, and I'm like, crap, I need a website. And thankfully, my best friend actually registered my domain, and she did it on GoDaddy, I think, and she got the website builder, but I literally did nothing with it. And I got up that morning and I literally spent 2 hours and I created a website. Luckily, I had content that I had from, all my Instagram posts. I just pulled together some content quickly and I sat and created my own website. And that's how I actually started. So I had a PayPal button, and people could do bank transfers, and that's exactly how I started. Luckily, I have a US bank account. Thank God, that's one thing that I will tell everybody, but I guess we can get into that later. I actually recently moved over, so I connected my GoDaddy to Stripe, and I was able to process credit card payments online, which went directly into my bank account, which I had access to. So I was able to get my funds in
Yeah,
Jamaica.
man. We're getting
PayPal,
there.
yeah. So,
We're getting
and
there.
my PayPal is connected to my bank account. So for me, thankfully, I didn't have that as a lot of people starting out. I guess, you know, we'll get there. So I recently moved over to Shopify, and that has been just, I don't know, praise the e-commerce gods. But so far, Shopify has been a very beautiful thing. And yeah, but that's, I went straight Google Forms and then straight to websites. Like, that's it.
Okay. So what I would say, it sounds sort of similar. It sounds like, you know, we sort of did the whole manual thing, you know, for a little while first, and then when sales sort of built up, and then when we couldn't sort of manage it anymore, that's when we say, you know what, it's probably time for a website. And I mean, even though the whole point of this panel is about e-commerce and stuff like that, I actually think that we all did the right thing. Because I mean, what I find that people normally do, and as Marc was saying, how they get a website too quickly. And I think probably in 2020, 2021, there's probably no time too quick to get a website. However, I think that people need to ensure that, you know, they have a few customers, you know, they have some traction, and then when they have those things going, that's when they can say, all right, let me sort of make an investment and let's get our website up and running. So I had a few follow-up questions, but it's really going to tie in into question 2. So we can just go into question 2. Question 2, which is, so since all 4 of us have gotten online now, so what vendor do you currently use to collect credit card payments online? And we're going to start with Patrique.
To collect credit card payments, I use Stripe, and I think Shopify also uses Stripe. I also use PayPal. So yeah. So
my question is, how well, even though you had sort of touched on it, but how are you able? So from my understanding, Stripe isn't available in Jamaica. Stripe isn't available in the Caribbean. So how are you able to set that up? So you need a US Social Security number. Oh, wow. So that is something that, a lot of people I know, especially university students, once you get your J1 visa, you get a Social Security number. So, if you can, I honestly don't know how I would advise someone with that, but there are always workarounds. Trust me, there are workarounds. But I can just, Okay, well, so what I would say is, speaking of workarounds, this is where I'll probably look to Marc if probably he can share the vendor that he currently uses. Yeah, so well, I started off using Stripe as well, and to address the point that Patrique was saying, so you do need a Social Security number, or you need an American tax ID, right? Which is either a Social Security number, right, for individuals, or an EIN, which is for companies. So what I recommend people do once you're at this stage is to register a company in the US and then apply to get an EIN, which is, the Social Security number for that company. And you can do it as a Jamaican. You can do it from Jamaica. There are services online. If you DM me on Twitter, I can send you some. So there's actually a thread that I always share with other people. I can share, the company that I use is called Harvard Business Services, Delaware Inc. I registered an LLC in Delaware. And then from there, I went and, got a Mercury bank account, and then, and then I got a Stripe account. And then since then I've transitioned to Shopify payments. But there's a I have encountered something else, which is, we can get to it a little later, Rory, because this is one of those issues that is kind of raw for me right now. But so I'll get into that a little later about why that is. But I mean, you asked earlier, about PayPal. Personally, I don't like PayPal. I try to encourage everybody to avoid PayPal like the plague, because PayPal has a tendency to just like freeze your account for no reason. And in getting your funds from PayPal in Jamaica is like 45 days after write a check, and then the check, gets mailed to Jamaica, and then, posting or depositing a US dollar check from a US institution in Jamaica is
going to, it takes like 30 days to clear or something like that. So your money can be trapped in limbo for, 60 to 90 business days. It's the most absurd thing on the planet. So I just tell people, don't even bother that. So just do it little by little until you have enough cash, from your sales, and then go on, you register a local company, register a US company, get a US bank account, get an EIN, and so on. Yeah.
All right, so over to you, Morgan.
Well, first of all, Marc and Patrique stressed me out with the whole Google Docs thing, and I was like, what? So initially I used PayPal. I didn't have a problem with PayPal because what I did is that I used the funds from PayPal to buy my products overseas. So my packaging that I got from overseas or any ingredients that I needed to get, I just used that funds to purchase it back. So I didn't try the whole route of getting a check and getting it back to Jamaica. But then maybe I wasn't making that much money that I needed it. So I just needed to purchase stuff. And then when I moved over, I moved from PayPal to Stripe because I changed my website to Shopify because Shopify was easier for me. And I didn't have the EIN number or anything like that. But then that's where good friends come in. So
Hey.
friends and family overseas, and the ones that you can actually trust. And I used my friend, and she used her business account, and she just sent the money to me. So that was just an easier process for me. But the main reason why I moved to Shopify was because with WordPress, I wasn't able to put the point of sale and the website together. So I ended up having to update the website and then updating my inventory in store. So persons would buy something on the website that I don't even have in stock, and I'm like a mess making one little item to ship overseas. But with Shopify, I'm able to put everything together. So the point of sale in store is linked to the website. So once it's out of stock in store, then it's out of stock on the website. So I don't have the stress of that.
All right, well, thank you so much. Okay, so we have a few questions in the chat. Of course, the number one question is, how do you get your PayPal funds to Jamaica? So we actually have an upcoming question about PayPal. So we will be touching on that a bit later. I see somebody asking about the Sagicor and NCB online commerce platform. Okay, so what I would say is, so I actually do have some experience with it. I have another company, and I had decided to, let me, I already had an NCB account, so why not just try this whole thing? And what I would say is a lot has changed in the last 6 years. Because when I was starting JCP 6 years ago, there was no way I was ever going to even consider going to NCB or a Sagicor for an online platform. But times has changed. And I would say in probably around 2 weeks, I was able to set up their whole online e-commerce platform. I did not go with the full website option. I went with like the button option. So I'm able to customize a button, send it out in a link, and then people are able to to follow the link, enter their credit card and place the order, and I'll get the funds in probably one to 2 days. But I guess the issue is right now, to my knowledge, you're not able to use it with Shopify, and I think all 4 of us here use Shopify, so I think that's something against it. But so what I would say, there are options out here. There are affordable options out here, because I already had an NCB business account and I only had to pay a $60 US activation fee, and I believe it's a monthly fee of $14. So it's a small cost, and and as Marc would know, if we're going to set up an entire company in the US, of course that's going to come with a cost, probably looking around probably $400 or $500 US. And then you have to be filing your taxes, and this is US taxes, so this is serious business now. So I am happy that we now have a local option, which is a Sagicor or NCB. But as you can tell, most of us here use Shopify. So you can move on
Can
to
we hear one
Sure.
second, Rory? You said a
Of course.
$60 US activation fee, and you pay $14 a month to
Correct.
maintain the NCB platform.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So it's okay.
With
Cool.
the money?
Okay. Cool. So it's the NCB / Figaro option.
Figaro.
Yeah, man. And it's 60 US to activate, $15 a month, and it's a 4% off of each charge. And I mean, I honestly believe if you're running a business, I think a $14 US charge per month, I actually think that's pretty good. So
Rory, so what do you? So it's
you
not
have to bring some serious inventory, because I mean, a lot of small businesses, to find their $30 to maintain their thing and pay, you know, it depends, Rory.
Oh, well, okay. I take your point.
So Rory, I guess the question is just, so you get a website with that?
No, okay, no. So the I would say the platform or the version that I sign up for, that's only $14 or $15 a month. That doesn't come with a website. All it really comes with is a functionality to send out like a link, right? So I have a little back end that I can go in and set up my products, set up my prices, but there's no front end website to the customer on my $14 plan. All that I can do is, okay, Marc, you want to buy some chippings? Here's I'm gonna customize this link for you. Send it via email, send it via WhatsApp. You press the link and you can make your payment. But of course, they have other versions where you can actually get a website, but that's when the cost goes up.
Okay, yeah. So we need our banks to do better. I guess that's a summary.
Well, yes, but I do want to give them some credit that I was able to get this up in 2 weeks. You know.
No, fair enough.
Moving on. Question 2. How do you handle shipping and logistics to local and overseas customers in terms of shipping, time, cost, and reliability? And we're going to go with Morgan. Can start with Morgan.
Yeah, no problem. So I used to use DHL a lot until they were on average maybe $25, and then all of a sudden, I think the end of 2019, they decided to add an additional $20 or $25 for some duty or customs or something. So it's like $50 to send something that's not even a pound. So initially I was, okay, this might sound fool, but initially I was absorbing some of the costs because, you know, you're trying to give the best customer service and, you know, you're trying to do the most for your customers until you're realizing that, you know, it's starting to add up and it's not making any sense. So because Jamaica Post, which is the other option, takes 21 days. And I've seen where packages are going to Florida and it reached Canada before it even reached to Florida. And I'm like, what? And by the time the boxes reach, they're like, it really looked like it went around the world. So it was like, what am I to do? So I just kind of had to make the packages sturdier, explain to customers, and they're willing to wait. But it's still a challenge because when they can purchase overseas and get something within 3 days, within 7 days, within a day, and then from Jamaica, it's taking all of 21 days to reach. So then what I did was my same friend overseas, I just packed like a huge box of my products, sent them over there. And when person's purchasing the States, she just picked from the box and then, so that kind of made it a little easier. You know, we have to be creative.
Well, I tell you, boy, Morgan, your friend is a godsend, you know.
Trust me.
Yeah, man.
all shipping and fulfillment she's doing for you. Oh my God. All right, then. All right, so we'll move on to Marc.
Yeah, so so local orders, we do a bureau, like if it's around Kingston, we send via bureau, and we do Knutsford. I don't offer free shipping. I would love to be able to, but as a small company, we can't afford it. So, our customers pay for it. And so we do beer delivery around Kingston, nuts for the express outside of Kingston, and then international shipping. I just do Jamaica Post. And yeah, I know it is like, yeah, I have all of the same problems. I think that everybody here is going to complain about Jamaica Post, but DHL is insane. Like, I tried to work with them so many times, but the rates are insane. I mean, sure, it's great, for the customers to get it in 2 or 3 days, but when something is costing, the same value of, the tote that they're buying, or 2 times the value or something, it don't make no sense, So yes, I just use Jamaica Post, and I kind of just grit my teeth and bear it, and just explain to the customers that this is what I do. Is like I set expectations and say, okay, this is what you're gonna do. This is how we're gonna send it. You're gonna send Jamaica Post to USPS, and then here's your tracking number, and just please bear with us. But that's, but the alternative is just too expensive. So
Yeah.
All right then, Patrique.
Hey, so I use Tara Couriers for round town delivery and round island delivery. And I also have a bearer that does Kingston only. And overseas, I use DHL. Just to let you know that the government actually imposed, so that $25 goes directly to the government, no matter how small the package is. I forgot to mention earlier, but this is kind of like a very pain thing to say, but I have a store on Carib Shopper.
Nice.
I may lose my birthright if I get into, but I'm gonna be real with you guys, right? Because we're here to be honest,
Of course.
and be, fully transparent. So I have a Carib Shopper store, which I actually deactivated a couple weeks ago, because to funnel the money back to Jamaica, they do a wire transfer. So for example, my customer paid for a couple, I have a customer in Antigua, and she bought a couple teas online, and the teas were like $16 in total, and the shipping was $45. And I was like, this is like a repeat customer. I was like, hey, I can't make you be paying $45 for literally like three parcels of tea. So I said, hey, I'm gonna just send you my Carib Shopper link, and let's see how we're gonna do this. Placed the order, fantastic. She got her things, and when it was time to get my money back to Jamaica, this was like 20 something US. When I got the statement, it was 300 Jamaican dollars, and I was like,
wow,
I don't understand. So they do not have a Jamaican account to wire the funds to you locally. So they do a wire, and if you know how wire transfers work, there's a flat fee of 3,000 something that all banks charge to receive money. So I probably got like $3,700, and when the bank took their money, I was left. So I charge $100 for a parcel of tea. Yeah. But I use DHL, and I'm actually in the middle of setting up a warehouse in Miami now, because it's just not practical to export as a small business unless you're sending over a parcel or a pallet. Like the government literally gives all these big companies all these exemptions, SCZ, this and all those things, but for the small person to export, ridiculous. They don't care about us. That literally, if you're sending this, the government charges you $25 in taxes to ship this outside of the country. Ridiculous. But what I do is, so like my customers in like the Caribbean, which luckily I have friends there, I literally just pack a box with like 4 different orders. And when it gets to Trinidad, I have my friend, thankfully, Christine, I love you, gone to bed. Christine drives and does my deliveries for me. Wow. And I've actually done the process that Joni-Dale did. But then it gets very taxing on my friends because they have other lives too. So I mean, right now we can only do what trust me, doing business in Jamaica is an extreme sport, and I am not good at athletics. I swear to you, it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
We're here.
Don't do it, guys. Don't do it.
So what I will say, I'll chime in myself. So we start with the Jamaica Post, and for more or less it was working good enough. We tell our customers 8 to 10 business days, and for the most part it was fine. But then whenever it's like a Christmas season, but then or Black Friday, it gets horrible. That 8 to 10 goes to 20 to 21, and of course I'm selling food items. So that's when we started to experiment with DHL, but of course that was very costly. So that's when we decided to do the whole let's set up like a 3PL or a warehouse in the US. But of course that comes with its own challenges depending on the type of products that you have. So for somebody like sort of Patrique and even Morgan and even Marc, like since you guys don't have products that are like perishable, like a 3PL or warehouse in America would be perfect, because you can just send up bulk items. You don't have to worry about expiration. You don't have to worry about anything like that. And when people order, the company will send it out for you. So I mean, I tried with that, but it wasn't really working cost-wise and also freshness of product-wise. So we decided to put that on hold. So right now we're doing DHL. We're really trying to work with them, to find out how best we can get the cost down. Some months are better than some months. But yeah, so I guess I can pretty much all agree that it sucks, especially with this whole export tax thing. But it's just all that we have at the moment. All right, we can move on.
Okay, the one thing I want to say about the export tax, I'm not sure if that is like I haven't experienced that with Jamaica Post, so
No.
It's
only it only pertains to, I believe, DHL, not for the post office. You're good with the post office.
The post office is government owned.
Yeah, good with the post office. But with DHL, that's when they would want to include it sometimes.
Okay.
All right, let's move on.
FedEx charges that as well, Marc.
What was that, Patrique?
FedEx charges you that as well. It's like a standard tax that they have to pay. Everybody has to pay it.
Interesting. Okay.
All right, so let's move on. Number 4. Oh Lord, this is a big question. How do you effectively get your online payments / revenue back to Jamaica? I mean, I know you guys had sort of touched on it before, but I believe that this deserves its own question, because a whole heap of people always ask me this. So we can start with Marc.
Yeah, so in our case, what we do is that whenever we do have like significantly excess cash in the US account, then we do a wire transfer. But what we actually tend to do is so we're in a fortunate position where, we have our business is split, right? So we get some payments and some, cash coming in from, eCommerce, that's in US, and that goes directly to the US account. But then we also have, these relationships with these pharmacies, and we have local sales, right? So we have a float locally, from coming in from checks and stuff coming in from the local businesses, and then you have cash coming in from the US. So basically what we do is we just manage the floats basically, and then float being just the pile of cash in the different jurisdictions, and then we use the cash differently. So like in the US, for example, it's actually pretty rare now for us to bring in cash, maybe like once a year. What we simply do is just allow it to accumulate and then use it to do things like pay or annual franchise tax, in Delaware, and pay for our supplies when we're buying any raw material or whatever over there. We do that when we're doing any marketing, boosting any ads and running any Facebook campaigns or YouTube campaigns or whatever. We do all that with the US account. So we kind of manage and then anything that we need to do locally in terms of salaries that we need to pay or whatever, we do that with our local accounts. So we basically just use both accounts to manage the expenses in each country respectively.
Oh wow, that's interesting. All right, over to Morgan.
Yeah, as Marc said, that's pretty much what I do too. For the US dollars, I use that to purchase my ingredients, my packaging, Facebook ads, because it's already in US dollars, so at least you're not having to work with the new conversion rate. And you're actually getting probably a better rate when you do that, because let's say I have US in there that I probably would have gotten for 136. I know the dollar is like 145. So at least it works better in my favor in terms of just viewing that US dollars to purchase stuff like that. So I just leave that over there and I call that my little profit. And I use the Jamaican dollars, you know, for the everyday running of the business. So at least when I look at the US account, I feel like I have money and I feel rich. You know?
All right, then. All right, moving on to Patrique.
So I buy, as you know, tea does not grow in Jamaica, so I have to buy teas. So the tea plants, Camellia sinensis, as I mentioned earlier, that is tea.
What about mint tea, Patrique?
Yeah.
Mint is a herb, ginger is a root, turmeric is a
Milo?
root.
What's Milo?
Milo is powdered sugar and chocolate. So majority of my raw ingredients I purchase online. My packaging I get in from China. So that will require, you know, so the bulk of my funds that I earn online goes directly into purchasing raw material, as Joni said, paying for Facebook ads, which I rarely do, but still. So yeah, that's basically, I mean, let me tell you, I had a very unfortunate experience. I had to pull some cash from my US account once and they cloned my card and cleaned it out. But luckily it was not a Jamaican card. My money was insured and I got my money back within 24 hours. So that's one of the things. So trying to get your Jamaican money, I mean your money from your US account, don't bother go to an ATM and pull no money, please. That's one of the things that you have to be wary of, especially in these times.
Just can I provide a contrarian view to or contrarian opinion to that? So I mean, I agree, Patrick, that you definitely need to be, you know, careful with the ATMs and stuff. You know, and in the wire thing, right? So sending international wires can be, you know, treacherous in and of themselves. I've had wires just disappear, and you have to like literally just get stuck in the thing, and you have to call different banks and you have to track them down and get wire tracking information, which is like I didn't know that money could just literally disappear in the ether, right? Right. So you have to be aware of these things and just. But I mean, eventually it was resolved. It just took time, right? But depending on the bank that you use, so Bank of America is a member of I think it's called like the Global Banking Alliance or something that BNS is also a part of. So you can go to certain BNS USD ATMs and you can withdraw directly from your BOA account for free. I mean, it's just that you have to, you know, you're walking around with cash and you know you want to be careful about how you do that and whatever. But I mean, I've done that a lot on a personal basis, and it works well for me. So
I ain't doing it again.
Fair enough. I just giving an alternative data point just so that people can you know have a different perspective as well.
Yeah, and I also have a local bank account that all my retail partners wire the funds, all my stockists, my corporate companies, and that money then I use it to pay my new employee.
Nice, congrats.
And before I got back into corporate, just, you know, the day-to-day bills of the place. So yeah.
All right. So I mean, so what I'll do, I'll just jump in and answer the question as well. So back in the day, before Shopify, before I had a bank account in the US and all that good stuff, and I only accepted PayPal. Yeah, so it was a very rough time. I would actually wait to get a PayPal check delivered to Jamaica. So first of all, I live in Red Hills. So pretty much, if the mail takes 2 weeks to get to somebody who live in Barbican or wherever, it taking 5 weeks to get to me. So I would literally wait 1 entire month to get my check from PayPal, and then I mean I know that it normally takes something like a week. Well, what I normally hear, it takes an additional week to cash a US check. Fortunately, my mom used to work at Scotiabank, so I was able to to get the cash like same day, if not the day after. But it was a very, very rough period. So right now, since I have like my bank account set up in the US, I would do like probably a wire every week or a wire every 2 weeks from my bank account in the US to my local bank account here. And then I would then sort of use that funds to, to buy products, pay staff and all that good stuff. So effectively, it boils down to having to do a wire. And similar to you guys, I would also try and use any funds that I have in my bank account in the US. I would try and pay any US expenses through it. So yeah. All right, let's move along. Ooh, another giveaway. So, all right, guys, we want to thank everybody for still being with us and to ensure that you're still here and you're listening. What year was Morgan's Creek established? So we're gonna, Morgan, if you can just well, give us 5 seconds and then you can tell us the answer. So 5, 4, 3. Oh, so guys, you must put in the chat what year to win a lovely gift basket courtesy of Morgan's Creek. So Morgan, you can tell us what year it was established.
2016.
2016. Let's see if we have a winner. Oh my God, so much people answered. Okay, hold on. So the first person to say 2016 is, well, hold on. Anne. Is your friend? Oh, Morgan. Do you know somebody named Anne?
Anne.
Okay, perfect. Well, Anne, congrats. You are a winner. You're a winner. Okay. The reason why, so I wasn't quite sure if Anne was your friend abroad that was helping you, because I saw she said something when you said the friend story. So so we couldn't have her winning. So all right, Anne, congrats. You were the first to put 2016. All right, let's move on to the next question. Oh my God. We can run through this very quickly. Did you ever have to rely on PayPal to collect? If so, how did that affect your cash flow? We can keep this one for fairly short as we move on to the other questions. So Patrique, go. I can keep it around for 30 seconds.
I've never had to rely on PayPal to collect because PayPal is linked to my thingy. Okay,
so I assume that then you just transfer your funds in your PayPal to your bank account in the US.
Yeah, and if I don't, I use PayPal to purchase things online too. So there's always cash in PayPal, in case I have to pay like my freight forwarding fee or something like that.
Sure.
So I've never done a withdrawal process.
Okay. Well, before I move on to Mark, what I would say as a little guys, I would personally recommend not keeping a lot of funds in your PayPal account because PayPal is known for locking accounts just like that. And guess what? If your funds is there, so sometimes all they say is that your account has been closed and we're going to continue some investigation and you can pretty much get your funds in 6 months or mostly like 3 months, one of the two, and you can't do nothing. So I would say, guys, just bear that in mind. I wouldn't have my funds just ranking up in PayPal. All right, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely no. Way back in the day, I used to use PayPal personally, and I think I had one of those issues where they locked it temporarily. It was a small little thing, but it was locked for like 30 days. And ever since that, I mean, thankfully, it's on a personal basis, it's a very small amount of money. But that, and then I started reading up about other horror stories and people, like the stories from people, Americans in America that have this issue. I mean, I say, yo, if Americans in America have this issue, what they're going to do to Likkle me in Jamaica? No, sir. Dog, so I can't bother with that. So I just tell everybody, do not avoid PayPal like the plague because it will kill your business.
And Morgan?
Yeah, as I said, I just leave it over there. I forget about it in the bank account, not PayPal in the bank account, because that's how I feel like I save. That's my little savings for Morgan's Creek. So I just leave it over there, buy what I need to buy, pay for what I need to pay for, and just keep it moving. Yeah.
All right, girls. So as I said, keep it moving. I'll do the same and move on to the next question, which is, somebody had asked this. What do you do to find your customers? And do you have any further tips about marketing outside of social media? We'll start with Morgan.
I'm not a very good marketer. Let's just put that. I am a worker, I'm a business person, but in terms of marketing, I am not the best at it. So I do the minimal. So I will do the Facebook ads or the IG ads. And that's pretty much it. I mean, if TVJ calls or CVM or Loop, I jump on that bandwagon very quickly. But that's pretty much it for me. I see how TCP does it. I see how you do it. I see how Patrique do it. And I'm just like, oh, I only wish I had that, that marketing ability. But, I do what I can with Morgan's Creek. I do it in the products. I try to let the products speak for themselves because I'm just not good at the marketing. So IG ads, Facebook ads, that's me.
All right. Let's move on to Marc.
Yeah, so so we started off, as I said, our kind of background is grounded in a trade show, right? So that's always good for us. So for the early years, we did Moda a lot, and then we did Jamaica Made Christmas, 2 years, and we did other shows, and this is all around Christmas time. And then from there we literally we did the retail trade, so we went to where people were, kind of as like low hanging fruit. So I went to pharmacies, put a stand in there, and then, it's like talking to customers. And then, a very powerful thing about finding other customers is word of mouth and the customer service. And so I take customer service, or we as a company take customer service very, very, very seriously. I literally manage the DMs myself as well as another member of my team, and manage email myself as well as another member of the team. And so I try to be as responsive as possible. And what I find is that the more you treat people well is the more they tell other people about your stuff, and you build goodwill. And and then, but outside of that, so that's kind of like outside of traditional I guess social media marketing. But we leverage social media marketing very, very heavily. I know you said outside of social media, Rory, but I'm just going to say, I have a few tips. I just want to run through them quickly. What I would recommend that people do at first is focus on one channel that works for you. For us, that was Instagram, because our products are visual. So we do photo shoots of our models, with our products and stuff, and then we leverage, IG very, very heavily. And then once we basically just keep experimenting with IG with different things. We do, because our brand is more funny and whatever. So we do like humor posts and inspirational stuff. Respect the platform. So on social media, you have IG, you have Facebook, you have Twitter, you have Snapchat, you have Pinterest. You don't just take one thing and just like slap it across all the platforms. Like every platform has a different culture and has a different vibe, and you want to make sure that so like for example Twitter, Twitter is very, very they love words and they love storytelling and they love kind of like edgy stuff. So Twitter is a very different vibe than IG. So you want to make sure that your strategy for Twitter is different than your strategy for IG, right? And then until you can get to the place where you can focus on multiple strategies for different channels, just focus on one platform that really works for you, and really, kind of, build on that. And great references to look at for that handle different channels as well are BOJ. BOJ has basically mastered Twitter. Barita, has done great on IG and on Twitter, and a rocket ship, for Twitter. Focus on creating value for your audience mostly. Make them laugh, teach them something, more than you are asking for something. And then, we have experimented with we haven't experimented much with advertising outside of social media and events, in-person events, like we said. So those are my kind of quick tips.
All right, so moving on to Patrique.
Okay, so Likkle tea being loose leaf tea culture isn't, well, when I started wasn't very big in Jamaica. So I had to basically create an entire movement, an entire community. So I started out with just having my friends do unboxing, and then that person knew that person. I started out just showing people and just showing them tea culture and showing them, the process. And I was real with my customers. I found my customers through word of mouth. That person knew that person. They came over. They were making tea for them. This looks cool. This looks interesting. What is it about? I did Conoco Market. I did Moda. I did Jamaican Made Christmas. I did pop-ups. And I did Rum Festival. I went into spaces that one would not expect to see tea because, again, I had to shift how Jamaicans thought about tea. Everyone can say tea is something you drink when you feel sick or you want bust gas. And that is not Likkle tea at all. Likkle tea is really an experience, and I had to basically just show my customers a whole different ball game. And I was able to just create a community in a space where not a lot of people look like me, sound like me, and I was real with my customers. You think I do a lot of social media marketing? I actually spend like $100 every 2 years on Instagram. I don't use Facebook a lot because I honestly don't understand what goes on over there. I connect the accounts, and I mean, if my 84-year-old grand aunt sees it, she'll share it to her friends, and they'll share it in the little WhatsApp church group. But that on Twitter, I'll running on conversations. I kind of keep it, quirky. I'm a storyteller. As I said, I have a background in marketing and advertising. And pretty much Likkle tea, the social media just kind of does its thing. Most of the posts, most of the great shots that people say, oh my God, this is so wonderful. I took them like 10 minutes before going out the door to go to work. That's it. Like, I'll just be having tea and I just say, bam, 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 phone, photo, caption in the car, and that's it. And it just kind of just replicated itself and formed a whole community. And, I just have like this, they kind of boost me up and keep me going, because I can tell you every other day I say, I'm going to just cut this because it don't make no sense, So yeah, that's pretty much how I found customers. Rory, I think I met you at Rum Festival.
Yes.
And you were like, rum? Oh, that. But
Oh,
yeah, the first Rum Festival, I literally created a whole tea room experience. I did craft tea cocktails. Jamaicans only, they're like, tea? Liquor? I'm like, you've heard about a Long Island iced tea, right? It actually has tea in there. It's actually a tea cocktail. So again, it's just opening up Jamaicans to new experiences and just having them recreate the experiences at home.
All right. So very quickly,
sorry, real quick. That's hot tea or cold tea? Patrique, you put the liquor in.
You can do both. You can even have like a hot toddy. That's hot. But it's usually iced tea cocktails. So I'll do like a dirty chai with rum and whiskey. I'll do a magic lemonade with some white rum. I'll do turmeric chai with Scotch bonnet honey and Fireball whiskey.
Wow.
You have to expand how you think about your product, and you basically have to create the culture, create the want, create the need, and the customers will appreciate. I find that we don't want to give. I find that a lot of people think that Jamaicans are just these backabush people who don't want good experience and don't want fantastic packaging and don't want things that look good. I feel very offended when someone says, "Oh my God, this is like a foreign, it come from me." No. We have to find ways to redefine Caribbean luxury and redefine product offerings, and give the customers value. Just create value.
Agreed.
All right. So very quickly, Joreen in the chat, she pointed out that sorrel is actually iced tea.
Sorrel, where is Joreen? I'm going to knock you in the head with some. Where there?
Is that not so? I mean, it
sorrel
sounds
is
right
actually,
to me.
so hibiscus is actually people have it as tea. It's actually a herbal infusion. It's actually iced. Yeah.
Yeah, and guess what? People add a whole heap of rum to that. So I guess
again,
I
and
guess
there
the
you go.
whole
That's
liquor and tea
cocktail.
works.
That's a craft cocktail.
Okay, so there's just So there's one thing I want to add to this in terms of marketing. Well, what I would say, guys, is that email is so important and is so overlooked, especially locally. I don't see a lot of local businesses really stressing. My apologies, Jorian. My apologies. Yeah, I don't see a lot of local people stressing email, and email is so important. Like what I would say is, email is one of the few things that I see a direct correlation with order. Meaning, I send out a blast today, I get a whole heap of orders today, you know, and I don't find a lot of other things with that. Let's say I make a post on social media, people are not really just gonna run because I make a post, but people go and buy based on emails. So I would say, guys, if you're not collecting emails right now, you are literally throwing money away. So start that today, start collecting the emails, and then, you know, and then you just can give them value and send them little deals and so.
By the way,
right.
Rory, just to kind of build on that real quick, I mean, you're 100% right. Like, email marketing is very, very powerful. Another thing that has worked for us is, you know, setting up different flows, you know, for customers in terms of email. So, I mean, by flow, meaning just like, you know, where the customer is, you know, in the purchase cycle or in the engagement cycle with you, you know, you send them an email that greets them. So if they just join a newsletter, you say, hey, welcome to newsletter, blah, blah, blah. You know, here's a little thing, you know, about TCP or whatever, right? And then you have different kind of emails targeted to different stages of the cycle. But what's interesting is that there's a very powerful email called abandoned cart email, which is very, very, very crucial and very, very important. Once you, as an e-commerce, once you have an e-commerce website set up, you're going to have X percentage of all of your customers that make it through the entire cycle, but for whatever reason, once they reach the checkout page, you know, they've added to the cart and they're about to check out, but they bail. And this is every single e-commerce site has that. What you want to do, those are your literal warmest like leads to convert them to customers. They're hot. They're like red hot. All you want to do is just, you know, send them a little nudge, remind them about the cart, you know, remind them about the purchase. And then there are a whole heap of different things you can do. You can offer, you know, you can remind them in 24 hours, for example, hey, don't forget your cart. And then, you know, within like 72 hours, you know, or, you know, 4 days, you can send them a 10% discount, you know, so like you can do different things to, you know, get them over the finish line, you know. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Rory. I mean, email marketing is just, yeah, very, very powerful.
All right, guys, so let's move on. What I would say is that, so we're only like halfway through, so if we could speed up some of the answers, because I know people get a little hungry. All right, so how do you deal with clearance locally if you source your products from overseas? This, I think all of you guys source your products from overseas. So let's start off.
Marc said earlier that, you know, things are very raw.
All right, I will go. I will go. I used to use that. Okay, let me answer. This. I used to use a company long ago that did you know, that did some shipping for us, and you know, they would give me an invoice with one line item, and that was just like, I was just like, yo, this is like, I can't manage this because clearly this is not, you know, everything isn't on the up and up. And then eventually I eventually got a customs broker. Best decision ever. You know, you do have to pay for it, but you know, obviously use them whenever you bring in something. But using a customs broker, the right customs broker, makes your life so much easier. I don't have to deal with anything. They just clear it. I send them all the invoices, send them whatever. They clear it, and then the literally just deliver it wherever I want to deliver it. I mean, you do have to pay, but it's so much easier than everything.
How is that cost? Is that cost like a percentage of it, or is just their fee? What's the cost?
No, they have like a flat rate fee. I think, for my broker, every time she touches something, she charges like, I want to say like 18 grand or something like that. So for me, what I do is I make sure that I have, you know, like I stockpile the inventory. Right? I mean, I don't know, Joni, those eyes, and Patrique.
I'm gonna answer after you finish. I'll answer.
Okay, all right. So, yes, right. That is what the fee is. Yes, that is her fee, $18,000 Jamaican. So about 150 US or something. But she's clearing a whole, you know, like a whole order. It's like not a pallet, but like half a pallet or something, right? So you have to, you know, as we said, I mean, we do this, we buy inventory maybe like 3 times a year in terms of, overseas. So what I do is I just wait until we have, we need it, and then we do it one time. So you don't use a customs broker for, small things. If you need small things, you can send it, via rocket ship or mail pack or one of those guys. But the big stuff, I'm just saying, that's my person. That's the way that we do it, right? So anyway, that's
all right, me. Cool. So Patrique, you have something to add? Somewhere positive?
So I ship. I order bulk. Again, I ship from all over the world. So when I'm ordering bulk, I order whenever I'm ordering my bags and my canisters, and I use a customs broker. But usually sometimes I have a very high turnover rate, and maybe I need like a £2 of tea, and I'm not gonna go and ship that through my customs broker. I'll use a rocket ship. And it is when I use my customs broker, fantastic guy, awesome dude. But I have to be greasing palms too often, and I can't do that. I have to put something in an envelope for this a person here. No. So I try to go to customs like twice. Actually, I don't go to customs. I park somewhere and then the guy will bring my stuff to me. Right now, I have, I think, like 3 pounds of tea that's been in Miami since November. Because Carl apparently has held rocket ships package hostage. I had to go down there today because I just could not believe it. So it is very painstaking. Like it's very. I literally have anxiety. Like I say, my anxiety peak because I need these items. Like I have a blend that calls for safflowers. All I bought was 3 ounces of safflowers. You know what Patrick had to do today? Patrick had to take 10 grand to go buy saffron. Do you know how expensive saffron is?
No.
Right? So trust me, it is a nightmare.
That's so like you have PTSD, Patrick.
Listen, right now, I'm going to strike handcrafted in Jamaica off my next run of canisters. I'm literally going to take a flight, bring my Jamaican ingredients, go to Miami, do my teas, and just leave them there. Because it don't make no sense. It makes no sense. Every time I order things, I'll order the same quantity. I never pay the same amount of money twice. Become up the grease too much palm than our customs. And
okay,
Patrick.
All right. So we're
just to be clear, Rory, I don't encourage greasing of any palms whatsoever.
But trust me,
that's why you have to find a great honest customs broker.
They don't believe that this could cost 80 cents. They don't think that this costs 80 cents. They're saying that my invoice fake. Something so pretty can cost 80. That can't right. I ain't got time for that.
All right, Patrick, link me after and I'll give you my customs broker.
That's what I love to see.
And you get bare invoices, everything is itemized. I mean, you have to pay for the transport, moving of the goods, you have to pay for this, you have to pay for storage, you have to pay for whatever.
No problem.
But whatever.
All right. So very quickly, Morgan, if you could just go through your process.
Well, clearly, I live hand to mouth, so I use like rocket ship and I use MD actually. So I order my Likkle packages, my $100, my $200, not half pallets, and I just probably bring in the same thing every 2 weeks. And it pretty much I just times it by 2. How I work it out is that at times I buy 2 because it varies. Sometimes they'll charge you $2,000 and then another time they'll charge you literally twice the price. So I just work it at twice the price and just use that as I like to make life very simple.
Joni, there should not be, it shouldn't vary, What you need to figure out is what is your HS code or is right name? You have to figure out what is
don't stress me out. Listen. Times it by 2.
Alternate universe.
Listen, I know. Listen,
customs.
I times it by 2 and I just work with that. And it doesn't normally goes over. Most times it's a little bit less, depending, And I work with that and my life is simple and easy, and I'm not having to deal with any custom brokers, and I am good. My life is good.
All right, guys, so we'll quickly move on to the
Peace of
next
mind.
question. All right, so question 8, oh Lord. Do you believe that local entities are making the process easy to effectively conduct e-commerce in Jamaica? If not, what would you like to see? And we're actually going to keep the answers to around 30 seconds, because we're running a little behind on time. And we're going to go positive, so we're going to start with Marc.
We're gonna go positive. Okay. I guess no. I think that they can do a lot better. What I want to see is I want to see two things. I want to see an international company like a Shopify Payments or Stripe, work like start accepting Jamaican merchants and Caribbean merchants. So I want to see that, and then or I want to see Jamaican banks integrate with these popular platforms like a Shopify, like a WooCommerce, like a whatever, right? Like I don't want to have to choose Stripe and have to choose Shopify payments. I want to be able to choose NCB or Sagicor or BNS or CIBC or whatever, and I have it, the funds go directly to my USD account, locally. But we don't have that, so I have to, turn hand and make fashion, basically.
All right, so we're going to go over to Morgan. What would you like to see if you don't think that they're doing enough?
Marc pretty much answered that question. We just wish that the banks would work with the overseas platforms, the Shopify, so that it's easier. It's easier to create a website or have a platform that works with their banking system much easier. And what they're trying. They've been trying for years, but I think them can speed up the process a little bit more now. But yeah, so everything that Marc said, that's really the best thing.
Okay, and Patrique?
I think there are lots of local companies are actually, well, I wouldn't say a lot. I'm gonna say few. I have to give credit to a lot of companies that are forcing customers to buy online, because I think once we change that culture, then I think all the other players will fall into place. Jamaicans have a tendency to not want to trust e-commerce, don't want to trust online. And if you don't put your foot down and say to your customer, I don't accept cash, I don't take orders via DM or via email, then they really won't do that. So like companies like Carib Shop and Q Mall that basically encourage local people to basically shop online. I think that, I think it starts there. I have to give credit to just the banks, NCB, in just creating new and different ways to have small businesses online. I think that, listen, I think if all Jamaicans say, oh, we're gonna go online or we're gonna buy things online, the banks will have to literally be as competitive as possible to ensure that the processes are I guess more seamless and less painstaking. But yeah, I think we're heading in the right direction, and I mean one of the good things that came out that because of the whole pandemic is that they are realizing that e-commerce is the way to go.
That's true. So, I've seen a lot of things pop up recently, and also even Monique from QuickPlate, from she started, she was like she's not accepting any cash, so she's only accepting online payment and card payment, and that has really worked for her. All right, so moving on. So we have probably 4 more questions. We're just going to try and just move through these a little quicker. Oh, well, now we have our last giveaway. Guys. So what year was Likkle T? Oh, wow, people answering already. What year was Likkle T established? So we're going to give them another 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So Patrique, what's the answer?
2017.
2017. Let's see who got it right. So our first 2017. Oh wow, damn, a lot of people got it. Hold on. Is look like Sherian Logan. All right, Sherian Logan, you can contact me afterwards. You got some lovely teas from Likkle T. So enjoy it. All right, guys, so we have 4 more questions. We're just going to go through this and call it a night. What's a major lesson you learned after starting your online business? Let's start with Patrique. What's a major lesson you learned after starting your online business?
Me?
Yes, please.
I tell you, I tell you, you see, I'm supposed to come on here and be transparent and be honest. And the thing earlier, I just got on. Anyways, one major lesson I learned after starting my online business. Jesus. Keep at it. Keep innovating. Keep refreshing your site. You're paying to keep your online business up. Keep pushing your customers there, and that makes sense. You're paying the fee, and you are accepting cash, and you're accepting, whatever. Just keep. One big mistake I made was, I guess a lesson is just, all right. Biggest lesson: ensure that what you're selling exists. Joni,
what does that
said
mean?
something earlier. I sometimes I'll make teas and I have people come here, see my things, like it, and just take it. Ensure that I keep correct inventory at all times. I ensure that it's linked to the website. That's my biggest lesson. Don't allow people to come to your house and take your things. Don't allow them to go into your stock. Ensure that what you're offering, you can sell your customer online.
All right, so moving on to Marc for a nice 30-second answer. What's a major lesson you learned from starting your business?
All right, so there are 2 lessons that I learned. One is that challenge all assumptions, right? So for example, people will tell you, okay, Jamaicans don't like, they won't buy online, or they won't do this, or they won't do that. That's first thing from the truth. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we experimented with different ways for people to purchase, right? So people would go online, they order on Shopify, and then they choose to pick up. So we had a local pickup partner, and then they would pick up, and then they would choose to pay on pickup. So we would fulfill all orders, deliver it to the pickup location, and then give the pickup location a list of all the customers that are going to pick up, and then and how much they're expected to pay. And many people told me, don't do this, are you crazy, blah blah blah. And you know what, because they keep saying Jamaicans will never do that, and they're going to scam you and this and that. And you know what I discovered? Jamaicans are not going to do that. Jamaicans are fine. That payment method performed just as well as credit cards. It performed just as well as everything else. So we had the same amount of people that returned things, or didn't fulfill, didn't pick up the order. Is the same amount of percentage wise, same amount of people that didn't follow through with credit card payments or whatever. So there wasn't a significant thing. And you know what? I unlocked a lot of sales from people that had cash that didn't want to use their card because they were nervous or whatever. And that unlocked a lot of new business for me. So that was one thing. And then another lesson that I learned is that there is a thing, and this is something I can't go into too many details about this yet, and I will be talking about this publicly soon. But there is a thing about being too successful in a legitimate way, right? Within the context of Jamaica. So I recently had an experience, and this is very, very raw, and this is very, very, it's still, I'm still working through it. But I recently had an experience where, registered company, set up everything overseas, blah, 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 launch products, whole heap of products sell, and the people flag you because you sell too much products. You must be a scammer, basically, right? So because Jamaica is a high-risk country, whatever, and that is like a whole nother thing. So I'm actively working through that. So I'm saying all of this to say that there is, you should still do things, as legitimately as possible, but just understand that we are living in Jamaica, and there are certain things that, as a result, because of Jamaica has been brown listed by certain, financial regulators, and we have, anti-money laundering issues and concerns, as in what the international financial regulators, have, and counterterrorism financing things and whatever that. So Jamaica is kind of like clouded by some of these issues, and it has a direct impact on all businesses, including SMEs. And it's the first time that I have ever experienced it personally firsthand, seeing, okay, dot all your I's, cross all your T's, but even still, you run up on just the umbrella of the issues that clouded Jamaica, geographically. So just word to the wise.
All right, up to you, Morgan.
Yeah, as Patrick said, make sure that your website is updated so that persons aren't buying what you don't have in store. Again, that's why I had moved to Shopify, so that what I have in store is what is represented on the website. So that within itself just made life totally easy. So I can just pick from the shelf and just send via Jamaica Post or DHL or whichever one.
All right, so I'll also add one myself. This is a little inside joke with my mom and I, and my answer is that you should stop the thought in, which is that just really double check and don't just think that everything is going to work out because things has been working out, So like a very very quick example, when I started doing the fulfillment abroad. I was watching the cost, and I remember like the cost was rising a bit much, like the expenses was rising up, and then I said to myself, no man, it's fine, it's everything is going to work out, everything is pretty much going to start even off in the end, and and then probably a month or two went by, and things did not even off. The expenses just kept going higher and higher, and it's like if I had just thought that everything was going to work out, and I would really put more time into watching the finances, watching the expenses, I wouldn't have lost as much money as I did last year. So yes, cool. So I have
the lesson, Rory, the lesson there is that every entrepreneur should understand their unit economics, and unit economics means how profitable is each individual product that you sell, and then how does shipping or free shipping and your fulfillment costs, how does that impact that? Because I remember that episode intimately, Rory. We went through that together. So anyway,
yeah, very true. And Marc really wrapped it up nicely. So that's something very important. All right, guys. So a few more questions. I want to jump over this question and get to number 12 very quickly. Have you ever been a victim of fraud or scam? I'll just give my experience with this. So yeah, this is something that I sort of find happen quite often, probably 6 or so orders for the month. So which is that. So on Shopify, whenever you get an order, like it ranks it in terms of those sort of possibilities of it being like a scam. So you have like low, medium, and high. Anything that's low and medium has turned out fine for me. But the things that are high normally is a scam. Which is that somebody would either place an order that's normally like for a lot of items, and then so we get in the order now, we feel good, we source the products, we ship the products, and then after they get it, they will just contact the bank and say, oh, I never made this purchase, or probably what's happening is that the person actually got some stolen credit cards and such. So this is something that I'm actively fighting today. I mean, I got a chargeback today. So I guess, my sort of advice is, well, I'm happy that I use Shopify and it gives me a little idea of what can be a scam. But what I do, I would then, if I see a super large order, I will call the person, I will just verify the details, verify the shipping address, and just trying to assess the order. Because it sucks when you spend your money to source the products, you spend your money to ship, and then they just do a charge back, and the bank just automatically just takes back all the money. It just goes, and even charge you a fee on top of it. All right, so we'll go to Morgan. Have you ever been victim of fraud or scam, and what advice you have?
Let me just knock on wood. Haven't. So you can just move on. Haven't had that. Yeah.
All right, Marc?
Yeah, not that I know of. I mean, I've had some, no thinking back, I've had some, orders where people place an order and then, they either don't pick up or whatever. So we get paid, but then they never ever show up to pick up. You know, I mean, I don't know if that's just like negligence or whatever, but you know, I've had a few of those. But I mean, I was happy. I mean, I was not happy, but I wasn't complaining. I never got charged back and whatever. You know, we kept the money. It's just, and no matter how much you know, I reach out to them, call them, email, whatever, they don't respond. So I'm just like, okay, cool. Thanks for the donation.
All right, then Patrique.
No, I got a flag from Shopify recently that the person that it was a high
risk,
high risk, but I think it was through PayPal. The order is actually for a Christmas box, so the order hasn't gone out as yet. So knock on wood. I think everything.
Knock on wood. All right, guys. So we're now headed into our final 3 questions. So it is, how did the pandemic affect your business? Did you have to pivot? This is a very timely question. We're going to start off with Patrique for a very short, concise answer. 30 seconds.
Yes, it did. I scaled through hotels and restaurants, not necessarily B2C. So it did affect my in terms of my larger revenue streams. But I literally decided that I was gonna, so I came out with a ready to drink line in the middle of the pandemic, launched 2 tea collections, made a whole big deal about them. They did pretty fantastic. Reached out to a couple of my contacts at the newspapers, did a couple press runs, went back to corporate. Yeah.
All right. Marc?
Yeah, I mean, for us, you know, very few people buy, you know, greeting cards or tote bags, especially at the beginning of the pandemic. So it did affect us. Like all the pharmacies and stuff basically just stopped reordering, you know, for a few months. For the first maybe month or 2 months or whatever. But then eventually they kind of you know, freed it up and, you know, things started to recover. In terms of having to pivot, what we did is that we decided to just, you know, kind of do some internal product development. So rather than focusing on, you know, marketing and outward looking stuff, we decided to just turn our attention internally and just say, okay, well, you know, what could we spend the time doing? And it was we made a decision to just keep everybody on staff. You know, we've built the business fairly conservatively. So, you know, we did have, you know, some kind of cushion to be able to, you know, manage that for a few months, thankfully. And then eventually, you know, the economy started to recover just in time. But yeah, we did some product development internally, and so we have some interesting things, you know, lined up for 2021. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
All right, over to Morgan.
I mean, sales went down a bit in the earlier part, like March, April, when the pandemic just kind of hit us. But thankfully, people still have to bathe. People still have acne problems. So we kind of, you know, it worked out. We survived. When I look at my numbers, in comparison to last year, it really hasn't been that bad. So I can't complain at all. And then more persons are having issues with the mask and breakouts on their face. So adults are having adult acne and stuff like that. So I've got new customers. So, and a lot of local pharmacies, because I guess they couldn't bring in a lot of overseas things. So they started to look for local brands. So we went into, you know, other pharmacies and other stores. So I can't complain. 2020 hasn't been that bad. I have to be grateful and say, yeah, we're good.
I'm very, very happy to hear that. All right, guys. So for everybody who have stayed to the end, well, not to the end, but almost to the end. I think you have actually stayed for the 2 best questions. So I just want to thank you guys for staying. We have 2 final questions, which I think is the most helpful and the most valuable. So let's go, which is, if you could start all over, what would you do differently? So if you could start all over, what would you do differently? And we'll start with Marc for a nice, concise 30-second answer.
Yeah, man. So if I was starting over, the biggest thing that I would do is I would hire earlier, and not too much, but I took a long time to, bring on somebody else, especially, well, what I did is I'm very conservative. So I did it, in a small kind of like an as needed basis, and then upgrade to part-time and then upgrade to full-time. But what I've realized is that when you hire the right person, like, you get extra capacity, and it feels like a superpower. It's the most insane feeling, when it's done right. When it's done wrong, it can cripple your business, right? So there is that. So I would definitely, do that earlier. I feel like I took too long. And another thing is that I would make sure to focus on cash conversion much sooner, meaning the converting from the invoice to a check. What I did is that what we focused on is just making sure the stand just stayed full in our retail stores, and then we just collect all the invoices, and then like a couple times a year we would convert invoice, like run on invoices. That we did that for the first maybe like 12 months or whatever, but that was just keeping up with the growth and whatever. So if I was starting over, I would make sure to instill that discipline from the jump, is just stay on top of that as much as possible.
All right, and Patrique?
Not leaving 9 to 5.
Oh, Lord. Oh, okay. And anything else?
Do I need to say more?
Yeah, that's a little more. A little 12 seconds more.
Doing business in Jamaica is not for the faint at heart. You have to dig deep. As I said, it's an extreme sport. I was never any good at sports. I never set out to do a business. It kind of just happened on me. Possibly hire a good accountant, hire someone who is good at, I guess, trademarking. That's pretty much what I would do differently.
Okay. So my answer is actually similar to Marc. I would have also hired a little earlier. I think, it's like when a company starts off, it's sort of your baby, and you start to feel that nobody else can do it as good as you, so, you definitely, and it's like, even for like operations, like you're fine pushing off operations because I don't want to be packing packages in year 5, year 6. So that was easy for me to delegate. But when it came to customer service, Facebook ads, I was like, boy, I don't really want other people to be doing this. Are we going to have the same, the same vibe, the same touch as me? But as Marc said, if you find the right person, they can do it even better. So that's what I would do if I could start over. All right, guys, and the final question, just want to thank you guys for being here. The final question, I think this one is specifically for the attendees, which is to someone starting an online business tonight. So let's say that right after the panel, they go to Shopify, they go to wherever. It doesn't have to be Shopify, it can be NCB, online thing. They're starting their online business tonight. What advice would you give them? And we're going to start with Morgan.
My advice, number one thing, make sure that you actually have it in stock. And number two is make sure you're pushing that you have a website, because again, you're paying a monthly fee, and you want to ensure that you're covering those costs, because it can easily rack up on you, because that's what happened with me. I got on Amazon this year, which is a kind of messed up year to get on. I know it's great, but to get the products over there was a bit challenging. But then I was paying this monthly fee of like $30-something a month for no sales. So I kind of had to deactivate that just for a bit. So just to ensure that you have the products and you're able to actually sell and cover those various costs that are there. So that would be my 2 cents.
All right, so moving on to Patrique.
Just keep sending people back to your website. Use email marketing as a tool. Don't rely on people just stumbling up on your website. Promote your website as much as you can. If someone asks, where are you things located, don't just tell them. Send them a website link. What flavors do you have in stock? Send them a link. Keep sending people back to your website. Just your website. And if you can, I would say try to accept payments on your website, because Stripe loans, Shopify loans, they are going to come in handy. You may not be able to access loans from your local bank, but Stripe will be willing to give you a loan, and they just take it back out of your sales. So keep pushing, keep sending people to your website.
All right, and to end us off, we're going to go over to Marc.
Yeah. So what I would actually recommend people do is, the first thing is that you want to make sure that you actually have something, like the business is real, right? Like it's not just a hobby, something that you can sell every now and then, right? So I would actually encourage people, don't even bother set a website yet. What you want to do is start off with social media. IG is free, get a Gmail account. So you want to think about your brand and think about all that stuff, so, and then, so you set up your IG, you set up, your Gmail, and then you try to make sales. So you DM people, everything that I was saying before, you DM people your banking account information, you can WhatsApp them your information and whatever. And so you try to do, bank transfer sales like that. And then once you develop a certain amount of momentum and you're certain that, okay, this is where you want to go, and like you actually have something, then you want to take the next leap, register, a business, and again, you want to make sure you're doing X amount of revenue, right? So that you're consistent. Register a local business, register a US business, get an EIN, get a Shopify account, get a US bank account, and then, doing everything, everybody else was saying, send people to your website. And but you also, again, you want to make sure all of those things require you to have X amount of cash coming in every month to be able to cover all of those expenses, right? And once you open a company, register a company, you really want to have a good relationship with an accountant, so you're keeping your books clean, and you're filing on time, and those type of things. So that's why I say, honestly, just take the time. Like, don't jump to that step until you are ready, right? So just take your time, do it informally. And I know that this is not something that people encourage or whatever, but I always encourage people to do it informally first, for a lot, until you are, confident that you have something. And then once you're confident you have something, and that is consistent, and that you have, you've learned everything that you need to learn, and you've made tweaks to your product and whatever, then you formalize, and then you set up, your infrastructure and everything properly.
Thank you, Marc. Yeah, and just so I would say my answer is sort of related to everybody's answers, actually, and which is that I always say it is just start small and start now. I have so many friends who want to do business, want to start a company, and all they do is just talk. So just find just the simplest version of your business and just get started now. And just what Marc is saying, like, yes, of course, you want up your website and everything, but you want to ensure that you actually have customers who are interested to purchase what you want. So you don't have to start off with a site. You can start off with an IG page. People can DM you, and then you can facilitate the sale. And when you say, okay, this thing going, people buying, then then we can look to build a website and get things up and running. So start small and start now. And secondly, is actually related to what Patrique was saying, so I would just say it's okay to follow up and ask for the sale. I say a lot of things with sort of persons, them don't want to come out and message them and say, hey, are you still interested in the product, or have you made the purchase yet? That's the thing. When it comes to this business thing, like you have to lose all of that like a freediness. You have to go, you have to just talk to the people. So I remember in my early days, like, so everybody who sent us a Facebook message, right? There'd be like a line of like 15. And I would like send them like a link to the website, to the product that they asked. I would just write up a little script that said, hi, this is Rory from JCP. We actually have a shipment going off tomorrow. We want to add your package to the shipment that's going off tomorrow. Are you ready to purchase? And I would just paste it. And of course, and I would say like half of the 15 people would have said, oh yeah, man, nothing, man, and go and order. But if I said, boy, I really want to ask the people and if them buy, then I wouldn't have got the sale. So you have to just get out of that comfort zone of talking to people and following up with people to purchase. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to keep your business growing. Well, guys, that's that.
Wait, what? Before
sure,
you wind up, Rory,
sure,
before you wind up,
sure, sure.
one more thing I wanted to add. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. Always ask for the sale. One thing that people should keep in mind is that you want to know what type of business that you're in, right? So keep in mind the unit economics of your product is very, very important, right? Like in other words, if your product costs, you sell it for $100, but it costs you $50, then you have a 50% profit margin basically, right? So that margin is very, very important. What I would recommend that people do if you are making a product and you're starting off small, try to have as high a margin as you can. And the reason is low margin, to make any money, low margin requires high volume. High volume requires fulfillment, warehouse, cars, driver, staff, all these different things, right? Which requires capital. So if you are starting off as a small person, just making product, what you want to do is just focus on high quality, figure out a way to build a brand, and just charge enough of a price above your cost so that you can have enough cash extra after every sale, so that you can reinvest it in more inventory, you can reinvest it in marketing, you can reinvest it in growing the business, right? And then also, don't be afraid to charge for anything that you absorb a cost for. So for shipping, for example, unlike Rory, I don't offer free shipping.
No,
I'm a small business.
Free shipping anymore.
Exactly, and this is something that Rory and we have gone back and forth on for years, right?
Yeah.
But at some point in time in the future, when we're big enough, we will offer free shipping. We're just not there yet, right? But you make the customer pay. Once the customer pays, another thing with shipping, I actually make margin on my shipping. You know why? Because I have to pay for box. I have to pay for box. I have to pay for the packaging material in the box. I have to pay for the time the employee takes to package the things. I have to pay for the tape. I have to pay for the marker, the Sharpie to write on the thing. I have to pay for the brown paper. I have to pay for all of that, right? So I bundle all that in, charge a margin, charge a customer. So I'm making margin everywhere because I'm building a healthy business, and no bank, no investor is going to bail me out. I use my customers as my source of funding. And so, so I would recommend everybody to kind of think like that, because, nobody's going to come and save you.
Marc, I realize you never mentioned paying your customs brokers in that little cushion. That's very important, especially if you never pay the same amount of money twice. You have to have room to cover that.
Absolutely, right. So duty, all that stuff comes in your cost of goods sold. Yeah, 100%. So that, which is why you need to, you need to charge, have sufficient margin.
So I guess in summary, Marc, it's just charge more.
Well, yeah, and just make sure you understand what your cost structure is. So make sure you understand what customs charges you. Make sure you understand what Stripe or payment processor is charging you, or whatever. Like, understand everything on a per unit basis, which is simply you just look at how much you spent for this entire batch, and then you just divide it by the total number. So if you have 100 items and you spent $1,000, $500 to buy it, and then $400 on boxes and everything else that you need to package your goods, your total cost is $900. You want to, I would say at the very least, you want to double it if you can. If the market will bear, you want to more than double it. 50% gross profit margin is on the low end, especially for a small company. Personally, I prefer higher margins if you can get it to like 60%, 70%, 80%, because that is how that excess cash will allow you to be able to invest in your marketing, invest in more inventory, and so on.
All right, I think that's the perfect place to wrap up the panel. I just want to thank our panelists, Joni-Dale, Morgan, Marc, from Morgan's Creek in Sovereign Center, Marc Gayle of TCP Tings Limited, can be found on tcptings.com.
There you go. Yeah.
All right,
and at those creative people on IG.
There we go. And Patrique Goodall of Likkle Tea, that you can order your lovely teas at littletea.com. So I just want to thank our panelists, thank everybody who jumped in. I had a friend message me that said that she tried to log on, but the room was full. So I just want to thank everybody. And yeah, this was great. I want to thank my lovely friends for helping me out. And of course, if you want to join the whole JCP Connect thing and actually sell some of your products on Jamaican Care Packages, so you don't have to go through a customs broker and all them things. Um,
There you go.
they just go to jacarepackages.com/pages/JCP Connect. Well, guys, have a lovely evening. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Rory, for putting this together and for inviting us.
you.